Welcome to the channel and welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's jump straight into it. There is no other place to start at the moment than with Bryan Mbeumo, because we have been waiting for what feels like forever for either the here we go from Fabrizio Romano or a David Ornstein bomber. Well, we got a David Ornstein bomber, but not the one we were all expecting. And then we've had another significant update coming out today from Fabrizio Romano. So let's run through all the latest there to keep you right up to date with everything that's going on with this transfer. So let's start with David Ornstein. So last night, David Ornstein tweeted the following, saying that Bryan Mbeumo has told Brentford and Tottenham he will only join Manchester United if he leaves Brentford this summer. Man United proposal of 45 plus 10 million pounds and 55 plus 7.5 million. It's still short of Brentford's valuation. Talks ongoing. Tottenham deny making any offer. So let's run through what David Ornstein actually said in his report in The Athletic. So, Bryan Mbeumo has informed Brentford and Tottenham Hotspur of his decision to sign for Manchester United if he makes a transfer this summer. So, Ornstein's saying he's still interested in coming to United, and he has informed Brentford and Tottenham that he wants to come to United. An opening offer worth £45 million plus £10 million in add-ons fell way short of Brentford's valuation. A second proposal at 55 million and 7.5 million of bonuses was also rejected, but talks continue as the 20-time English champions attempt to find a compromise. So David Ornstein saying that Brentford have rejected our second bid of 55 million pounds and 7.5 million pounds in add-ons. He also did say, interestingly, though, that funds are said to be available without requiring sales in advance. So that's really good that we have the money still to do this deal without relying on sales, although I still think we're going to need to rely on sales for the rest of the window. And then he also said, however, they plan to remain disciplined and avoid overpaying for players in the market. So that came from David Ornstein, saying that the second bid for Bryan Mbeumo has been rejected, but key that talks still continue, and that'll be cleared up by when I go through the rest of the news as well. So now Sully Talk said that Brentford and Manchester United have a full agreement on the base fee and are finalising the add-ons. Medical and contract signing is planned for next week. Brentford trying to squeeze a few extra million, and Mbeumo will be a United player. And I remember Sully Talks has been good and credible recently. Did see, and if you watched yesterday's video, was saying that there was a medical booked for this week. We'll have to wait and see what happens regarding that. Nave Soat said that Manchester United are very relaxed as they know Mbeumo is desperate to join Manchester United. So according to Nave Soat, United are not stressing or anything that this bid has been rejected. Rob Dawson said that there remains hope that a deal for Bryan Mbeumo can be agreed, which will allow him to join the squad for the start of pre-season training on July the 7th. Paul Hurst, who's a good source, said that Brentford want a large portion of the Bryan Mbeumo deal up front, so that could be one of the reasons why maybe that bid was rejected, because they want more of an initial upfront fee and maybe less in add-ons. We'll have to wait and see what the final deal is structured like to know whether that's true or not. Rob Dawson did say, though, that there are indications from Brentford that interested clubs will have to go beyond the £65 million mark to agree a deal for Bryan Mbeumo. I think the fee we're paying or bidding and offering at the moment is about right for Bryan Mbeumo. I think if you went to £65 million plus, like, where do you draw the line? Where's the line between overpaying and getting a fair price for, a good player? He is a quality player in Mbeumo, and one that I massively want to see at United, because I don't think you're going to get very many Premier League proven players with his experience at his age that's just come off the back of a 20-goal plus 7 assist season for that sort of price. I just generally don't. But I think there would be a line where the line is actually, is it too much? So there is still a potential United could walk if we can't get a compromise on the price, but it's believed, going off the reports, the compromise will need to be either in the upfront payment, i.e. the initial fee that Brentford get up front, or maybe the structure of the add-ons, i.e. more achievable ones, and that sort of thing. That's what it feels like going off the reports. Now, Sean Connolly said that Ruben Amorim is already preparing for the season with Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo in his first team squad. What we are witnessing standard negotiation tactics for a side attempting to retain a semblance of we are a Premier League football club. Brentford are trying to squeeze a few extra million up front. They are measuring it against Cunha and want a win during a time of mass exodus. So I thought Sean Connery summed it up quite well with maybe what's going on, where Brentford want to save face, get a few more £1 million out of United, because you've got to remember he is their best player. They've lost their captain and their manager this transfer window already, so we'll need the money to do a bit of a rebuild themselves as well, which is it's fair enough. And this is a legacy problem at United, though, isn't it? That when United come calling, teams are going to try and pull our pants down and spank our bums or roll us over and tickle our tummies, because they know full well that we have overpaid for players in the past, and this is something INEOS do need to try and address, which hopefully we can do. Now, Fabrizio Romano, though, has given quite a few updates regarding the situation. So, Romano said, my understanding is that Brentford consistently mentioned in talks with Manchester United the price tags of other players on the market, which is why they want more than what Manchester United offered in their second bid. My understanding is not that Brentford rejected the bid and talks stopped. The conversations for Bryan Mbeumo continue. So, Romano's suggesting, I think what's happening here, reading between the lines, is we've paid £62.5 million for Cunha, right? Now that's it. There's no add-ons. It's a release clause. That's the price. So Wolves are getting £62.5 million from United over three seasons, because that's the structure of that deal. And I think Brentford are looking at it and saying, well, we want that money. So while we're offering £62.5 million as a total package, they're only getting £55 million in cash, maybe over 3 years. Who knows what the actual structure will be. The rest is in add-ons, and those add-ons might be some achievable add-ons, but they might be some unachievable add-ons as well, like winning the Champions League and stuff, right? And Brentford are looking at it saying, no, we want £62.5 million like guaranteed, as the same way that Kone does. That's what I think the hold-up is at the moment, reading between the lines. Now, Romano also went on to say that the two clubs are again in talks and are trying to find a solution. United remain calm, confident and optimistic as the player is given total priority to United. So Romano doubling down, and Mbeumo wants to come to United, so this is not an issue with the player. Man United remain in active talks with Brentford to reach an agreement on the transfer fee. In the next days, the conversation will continue. Manchester United will try to find the final solution for Bryan Mbeumo. This story is still active and still alive after the proposal turned down. So Romano wording it a little bit softer to what David Ornstein did when he used the word rejected, which technically it hasn't been agreed, so therefore it is a rejection. But Romano saying, look, it's not necessarily a rejection, because we're still negotiation. The proposal has just been turned down and they're just working on improving the proposal or changing the structure, changing the add-ons and all of this jazz. Romano's also said that the negotiations for Bryan Mbeumo to Manchester United remain underway. Direct contacts ongoing. Man United and Brentford discuss structure of the deal, add-ons, critical details, and Man United remain confident. Mbeumo informed all parties 3 days ago about clear desire. Man United. So again, not a player issue, just a structure issue by the sounds of things. And then the latest coming from Romano today, at the time of recording this is the latest, saying that Manchester United are set to improve their bid for Bryan Mbeumo. Negotiations with Brentford to continue over finer details. So United are going to come back and improve their bid, which hopefully will be the last one, because with the main thing with Mbeumo is getting him in before the 7th. That's the only thing that matters, because that's actually when pre-season starts. He's on his holiday, so it's not like, we're missing out on anything at the moment. As long as we get him in through the door for the start of pre-season, which is what Ruben Amorim wants, I think that would be a good start to the transfer window, getting Cunha and Mbeumo, because if we want to prioritise the attack, getting two of your attackers in before pre-season would be a massive boost, I think, for us, and then also for Amorim as well. It sets him up a little bit better to succeed, hopefully, this season. But interesting that Romano said, so we're set to improve our bid, and negotiations continue over the finer details. So hopefully they can just iron out the creases. And while it's concerning, because it's never nice to hear David Ornstein saying bid rejected, and then Romano effectively wording it a little bit softer, but it's the same thing. It is still the bid's been rejected, but I don't necessarily think we're any different to where we were before. Yes, we've had a response now or an update to say that actually that bid's been rejected. But the belief was the deal wasn't necessarily agreed. We were just working on those finer details, the upfront payment, the structure of that upfront payment as well, whether they're going to get it over 3 years or 5 years, the add-ons, the nature of the add-ons, achievable ones, non-achievable ones. All of these things are just the nitty-gritty side of the deal. By the sounds of things, Brentford want a bit more cash up front. And maybe we've offered the same amount as Cunha, but not as a cash up front, and that's what the hold up is, and that's maybe why it's been rejected. But we are still in negotiations, we're still in contact. There's still a big belief that this deal will get done, and as long as we get it in before the 7th, then I'm not particularly concerned. Although there does come a time though when you might have to start getting concerned, and there may come a time like what's the time when we do walk away from this deal, because if we want to not get taken advantage of in the transfer market as well, and we want to maintain discipline, which is what Omar Barad is saying. He doesn't want to overpay for players anymore. We want to pay, the value that we want. There's always going to be a little bit of wiggle room in terms of compromising around that, though, because sometimes you're not always going to get what you want. It's a transfer window. Ideally, you'd want both parties to walk away unhappy with the deal, because that means that both sides have negotiated well. But we'll just need to wait and see and keep an eye on it. But at what point do we actually walk away? I think if it started to get too crazy, maybe United would, but then the question is, who do you go for if you walk away from Mbeumo? Because the alternative option would be maybe Semenyo, but there was a report today saying that Bournemouth are asking for £70 million for Semenyo. So where do you draw the line between the price and walking away and stuff? I don't think United will, though, but it is a concern. But there's still optimism the deal will get done, and as I mentioned, as long as it's done before the 7th, then I'm cool with it. We'll just have to see how we get on. There are still a lot of reports suggesting that United is still potentially planning a medical in that this week. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how it plays out. But give us your thoughts, give us your shouts. Let us know what you think about the whole Mbeumo deal in the comments below. Let's run through the rest of the transfer news. So INEOS owned FC Lausanne Sport have been in contact with Man United over a potential loan move for Sekou Kone. Several European teams are also in the race, but Swiss giants are in the lead as of now. Now that came from Sully Talks, suggesting that maybe Sekou Kone could be sent to Lausanne on a season-long loan, but other European teams are interested in him as well. I actually thought he looked pretty decent in the postseason games in midfield. I would have liked to have maybe seen him get some first-team minutes, but if he's not deemed as ready, and you've got to remember we've not got as many games, so we don't necessarily have to rotate as much this season. So maybe it's not a bad shout if he's not going to get first team minutes because of rotation. Yeah, send him out on loan, get him some first team experience and help his development as well. And that's not the worst idea I've heard of, because I do think we want a bit more experienced players, like Amram wants players that are ready to go now, to help the youngsters as well, so when they are integrated into the first team, we're not solely relying on them and putting too much pressure on them, which is what we've been doing with youngsters in the past, and where we've been going wrong, in my opinion, because we've got some good youngsters. It's just we shouldn't be relying on the youngsters to come in and be instantly first team players. They should be in and out until they can learn and they can develop and they can grow as well, and that's not a bad shout for me personally, sending them out on loan for those reasons. But give us your thoughts and your feelings on that in the comments below, as I am sure that you will. Now, the other player we've been linked with recently, but in the past as well, is Nmecha. So Christian Folk is very good when it comes more specifically for Bayern Munich news. Anything outside of that, I would say take him with a pinch of salt. However, he said the following: Manchester United are interested in Felix Nmecha. The international, so market value at 28 million euros, has a growing market in the Premier League, speaks English as a second language, and already knows Manchester from his youth days at United's rival City. Dortmund are fighting for their players and do not want to sell him under any circumstances. So this isn't the first time we've been linked with Nmecha. He's actually on the list of players that I've got that have been heavily linked with us from pretty much from January. We've been linked with a move for Nmecha. There was reports that Jason Wilcox likes him and knows him obviously from his time at City, same as Omar Barada as well. The belief was, though, because he has massive red flags around injury and has been injured a bit this season and last season, actually, with Dortmund. I'll show you his injury record in a bit. But they wanted to wait to see how he recovered from his latest injury as well. So he is maybe a midfielder that is of interest to United. But like as it mentioned in the report, Dortmund are fighting for their players and do not want to sell him under any circumstances. So is this one where, and we've got, you know, a terrible history of negotiating transfers with Dortmund. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But definitely an interesting player. Definitely one I would be for United going for at the right price, depending. But there is a flag about the injury concerns, which we'll go through next. But you know, good ball progressor, good ball carrier as well, good defensively as well. Can play as a 6 or an 8. You know, is a really, really, you know, tall, athletic, ticks the boxes maybe for what we would be looking for in a midfielder. Did make 39 appearances last season as well, 6 goals, 3 assists, which isn't the worst record, but his injury record has been pretty bad. His injury record has been very bad, which is a massive red flag for me because obviously with the Mason Mount, I think a lot of us are concerned now about player injury records. 16 games last season he missed with ligament injury, and then the season before, so 23-24 season, 18, 19, 20, 21 games in that season with injuries as well. So over the last couple of seasons, he's had a few injuries, which would be a bit of a massive red flag for me. But other than that, good profile of player, good age, good, you know, would tick a lot of the boxes maybe for what we're looking for in terms of a profile of a midfielder. But that worries me. That worries me, the injury record. But you know, Mazraoui had a bad injury record at Munich before we signed him as well, and he actually stayed injury-free pretty much all season. There was a couple of, did not have a heart scare where he missed a game, but apart from that, if anything, he was overplayed. He played too much because at the end of the season, he looked dead on his feet because we were having to rely on him so much throughout the seasons. But yeah, red flag for me, but good profile of player. But give us your thoughts, Nmecha, in the comments. What you're saying, yes, no, maybe. Let us know down below. Now, let's go through the exit news. So, Inter believe striker Francisco Pia Esposito has now done enough to stay at Inter beyond the summer transfer window, with Johan Boe also about to join Parma. The idea of signing Højlund for Manchester United is losing prominence. So, the Gazzetta are suggesting that maybe Inter are taking a step back with their interest in Højlund, which will be concerning. Napoli are linked with Højlund though as well, but then they are interested in other strikers. I think the Højlund situation will depend on whether we get a striker, which is believed to be the next position or next area we're going to focus on once we hopefully get the Bryan Mbeumo deal over the line. So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. That could just be Inter putting a story out as a negotiation tactic or an agent story to try and get United to drop the price or maybe come to the table for a loan, because Inter might not want to pay the 40-odd million euros that United want for Højlund. So it could just be negotiation tactics, that. But we'll wait and see. We'll see how that one plays out. And then let's go for the Sancho situation. So Fenerbahce, with Mourinho's approval, held an official meeting with Sancho. They approached the player and inquired about his conditions. Fenerbahce did not make a written offer in an official capacity. So according to, this is from a very good Turkish journalist, one of the best journalists from Turkey, got 1.8 million subscribers and is seen as the Romano of Turkish football, saying that Mourinho had a meeting with Sancho. However, they didn't make any sort of official offer. After learning Sancho's conditions, contact was made again, but no progress was achieved. Napoli made an official offer to the player with a salary that was almost 50% of what the player wanted, and Sancho rejected it. Juventus came back to the table. Sancho wants to play for Juventus, but Juventus offered a very low salary. The only club that can currently meet the net salary is Fenerbahce, but Sancho favours a move to a team who play in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. So it's the wages, isn't it, with Sancho? So according to that report, Fenerbahce have spoken to Sancho and will probably offer him the wages that he's wanting. He doesn't want to go to Fenerbahce because he wants to play in one of the top 5 leagues in the world. He's got interest from Napoli, but Napoli have offered him 50% of what he's wanting. Juventus want him, or he wants to go to Juventus, but Juventus are also offering him less in wages, and it's all down to the salary. It's all down to the salary with Jadon Sancho. Romano said the situation between Jadon Sancho and Fenerbahce is calm. The move seems unlikely. United awaits the club to sign him or cover his full salary. Currently, no one wants to pay his entire salary, so it's all down to the salary fee. I mean, could we do a loan and then the team pay 100% of his salary? Would that not work for us? I'm not sure. It would have to be a big loan fee, I think. In order for us to be able to do that. Can we drop the asking price so that clubs can pay his salary? Part of me thinks we shouldn't do that neither as well, and he should stop being so greedy and demanding, you know, a salary from when he, like 4 years ago when we signed him when he was a good player, because he's not done anything in that period since to suggest that he is befitting of the sort of salary demands that he's asking for, in my opinion. And then the latest is coming from Juve.com, who are good with Juventus news and a good Italian journalist as well, saying that Jadon Sancho is nearing a move to Juventus, with Fenerbahce stepping back. Sancho has approved the transfer, but his €10 million salary and transfer fee remain a problem. Juventus still remain confident of a deal going through. So it's all about the salary. It's all about the money with Jadon Sancho. If he gets a decent salary offer, maybe he'll take it. If he doesn't, I don't know what he's going to do, because he's not going to play for United. So you either just sit around and train with the reserves every week for the next 12 months and earn your money, or you've got an opportunity to go to a very good team and still get very well paid and play football. It's going to be down to him, isn't it? And we'll just wait and see what he decides, and what he wants to do with the rest of his career going forward. But bring you any updates when they come out. Give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.